In a quiet town in the United States, life changed forever for a young woman named Sarah Collins. She was only 27 when a tragic car accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. Before that day, she had been full of life, working as a school teacher, spending weekends hiking with friends, and dreaming of one day starting her own family. But after the accident, everything came crashing down. Sarah spent months in the hospital, surrounded by doctors, specialists, and physical therapists. They tried every possible treatment, but the damage to her spinal cord was severe. Finally, after endless tests and failed therapies, the doctors gave her the heartbreaking news. She would never walk again. Those words echoed in her mind every single day. Never. It felt like a prison sentence. Sarah's world shrank from open trails and bustling classrooms to the narrow space of a wheelchair. Even simple tasks like reaching a shelf in her kitchen or crossing a busy street became daily battles. She tried to be strong, smiling for her parents and close friends, but inside she carried a deep sadness. She would watch from her apartment window as neighbors jogged past, couples strolled hand in hand, and children ran freely in the park. Every time, her heart ached. Sarah's independence mattered to her more than anything, but with the doctors' words always in her head, she felt trapped. Her wheelchair gave her mobility, but not freedom. What she missed most was the ability to stand, to walk, to feel the world from her own 2 feet again. Despite her despair, Sarah refused to give up completely. She began researching new therapies online, reading stories of people who had beaten the odds. Sometimes those stories gave her hope, but more often they reminded her of what she had lost. Still, she kept searching for a miracle, even if deep down she doubted one would come. Her family did their best to lift her spirits, but they too struggled to see her in so much pain. Her mother once whispered through tears, "I'd give anything to see you walk again." That only made Sarah more determined, but also more heartbroken, because the experts had already closed the door on that dream. One evening, as Sarah wheeled herself home from a therapy session, she passed by a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. She noticed the mechanic inside working late, his garage light spilling onto the street. She barely gave it a thought at the time, but that very Chopin, the man who ran it, would soon play an extraordinary role in her life. At that point, though Sarah couldn't imagine such a possibility, all she knew was what the doctors had told her: walking again was impossible. And yet, destiny had a different plan, one that would come from the hands of an ordinary man with extraordinary compassion. The night Sarah passed by that little auto shop, she never guessed her life was about to change. The mechanic inside, Mark Reynolds, had spent years fixing cars, bikes, and just about anything with wheels. He wasn't a doctor, and he certainly wasn't a scientist, but he had a gift for building, inventing, and making the impossible work. One afternoon, Sarah's wheelchair broke down near the shop. Frustrated and embarrassed, she asked Mark if he could take a look. With his usual easy smile, he agreed. As he worked on her chair, they started talking. Sarah opened up about her accident, about how doctors had told her she would never walk again, and about the emptiness she carried every day. Mark listened carefully, not with pity, but with genuine interest. Something about her story struck a chord in him. He thought of his younger sister, who had once relied on crutches after a sports injury, and how hard it had been for her to stay strong. Mark decided then and there that he wanted to help Sarona just by fixing her wheelchair, but by giving her back something she had been told was gone forever. In the weeks that followed, Mark stayed up late after closing his shop, sketching blueprints and gathering spare parts. He researched mobility devices, prosthetics, and exoskeleton technology, determined to create something that would allow Sarah to stand and walk again. It wasn't easy. He made mistakes, scrapped designs, and started over more than once. But his heart was set on the goal. Finally, after months of effort, Mark called Sarah to his shop. When she arrived, he revealed what he had been working on: a custom-built mobility frame, almost like a lightweight exoskeleton. It strapped securely around her legs and waist, powered by small motors and controlled with simple hand switches. Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "You built this for me?" Mark nodded. "I can't promise perfection, but I think it might help you do something the doctors said you couldn't." Her hands trembled as she let him help her into the device. At first it felt strange, heavy, uncertain, but when Mark guided her to press the control, the motors hummed to life. And slowly, carefully, Sarah rose to her feet. For the first time in years, she was standing. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked around the shop from a height she thought she had lost forever. Then, with Mark steadying her, she took one step, and then another. By the time she reached the end of the shop floor, Sarah was sobbing, overcome with gratitude. "I'm walking," she whispered. "I'm really walking." Mark's eyes shone with pride. "Doctors can give up," he said softly, "but sometimes, ordinary people find a way." Word of Sarah's steps spread through the town, inspiring everyone who heard her story. She hadn't just regained movement, she had regained hope, courage, and independence. And all of it was possible because one mechanic refused to see her limits, and instead chose to see her possibilities. That day, Sarah learned a powerful truth. Sometimes miracles don't come from hospitals or labs. Sometimes, they come from the heart of a stranger who simply refuses to give up on you.